3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And today I wanted to share something that I first came across more than a decade ago. I spent a couple of years, 2000, I can't remember now. I want to say 2004, 2005, but it may have been later than that, researching a book with my friend Paul McKenna. And the book wound up coming out. He was part of his I Can Make You series. It was called I Can Make You Rich. But the reason that we took 2 years to work on it is because we really had no idea if there was something particular that set apart the people who were financially rich and from the people who financially weren't, in terms of psychology, in terms of the way the world looked to them, in terms of the way money looked to them. And there were actually a number of things that we found, and Paul did a nice job of I think, reporting the data, sharing the data from, I don't remember how many interviews we did, but I know 10 of them were with 10 of the 50 wealthiest people on Earth. So it was we had a really good cross set of people that we talked to about it. The thing that made the biggest difference for me personally was something in the book we wound up calling the Financial Thermostat. And if you think of a thermostat, the way a thermostat works is if the temperature is lower than you've set the thermostat for, the thermostat will kick on and will bring the temperature back up to its level. And they actually call that level either the comfort zone or the dead zone. And I know the comfort zone gets a terrible name in self-help circles, but I have no problem with comfort. It literally means that is the physical comfort zone. That's the temperature zone in which you've decided you're comfortable. If the temperature is within the comfort zone, then nothing happens. And then if the temperature is higher than the comfort zone, then the system actively works to bring it down into the comfort zone. And what we saw in our interviews was that the really wealthy people just had a completely different financial thermostat than Paul did, than I did, than I'm sure you do, than most of us do. In terms of the numbers below which they got uncomfortable and things would kick in to bring the money level back up were just set higher than they are for you and I, and vice versa. It took a lot more for them to kind of freak out and start needing to get rid of money in order to get back to comfort. Now, when we did this research, I had not yet come across the inside-out understanding. I didn't really see that comfort was nothing to do with how much money you have or don't have. But seeing that there were certain amounts of money, when people had below that, they automatically did stuff to try and bring in more. And when the number got up above that, they kind of found ways of getting rid of it. That stayed with me as a notion and had a huge impact for me. And I've watched my thermostat number go up. Now, if you want to get a sense, there isn't really a thermostat. So this is a metaphor. But if you want to get a sense for yourself of where your imaginary thermostat is set, think about what is the amount of money that you could lose without thinking about it for more than a minute. Like, if I lost a penny, I would be like, oh, bummer. If I lost $10, it would still be a bummer, and I would look for it for a bit, but not that long. If I lost $100, I'd spend some time, and you get up much over that. So that gives you an idea of what's the amount of money that you start caring at. Now, another way of coming up with it is, and you might want to write this down if you're doing this, what's a small amount of money? What's a medium amount of money? And what's a huge amount of money? So small, medium, large. And you could go tiny, medium, huge if you want. And those three numbers, when you've got them, will tell you a lot about where your thermostat is. Now, the story that really brought it home to me is we were interviewing somebody who'd gone to Eton. And for those of you who don't know, Eton is sort of the elite boys' school where the leaders of tomorrow they're trained to be leaders. And now I don't know about you, but when I went to school, the math problems were like, Johnny has a tomato that costs 10 cents and an apple that costs 5. If he sells them both for 20 cents, what's his profit? And that was sort of like my introduction to kind of advanced mathematics. And this guy was saying that when he was at Eton, the math questions at the same grade level would be, your father has just invested in a small manufacturing firm in South America. If he buys the firm for $10 million and the firm's revenue is $5.7 million, what would be the average profit? And, it's essentially the same math, but the numbers that are talked about as just normal are completely different. So effectively, metaphorically, we all have a financial thermostat. And the truth is just when it's set with lower numbers, the game of money is a game of lower numbers. And when it's set with higher numbers, the game of money is a game that's played with higher numbers. Now, here's the thing. Here's your takeaway. Where your financial thermostat is set is 100% arbitrary. And it can change in a moment. There is no such thing as a small amount of money. There is no such thing as a large amount of money. Small and large only exist as comparisons to an imaginary comfort zone, to an imaginary number that we have in our head as normal, as okay. And just by noticing it and opening yourself up to that number changing, you'll find that number changes. You'll find your sense of size and scope begin to change. And if you don't step in and try and force it and, I want to make my comfort zone here, you'll start to see it change all by itself. And as it does, you're going to have a very different experience around money. And you're just going to find that some things are so much easier because anyone is good at going out and charging a small amount of money. Right? If you think about it, we think, oh, how do I get good at selling a high-ticket item? Well, you don't. When what you were thinking of as a high-ticket item stops looking like a high-ticket item, it's no more difficult to sell than right now maybe, I don't know, selling a car for $100 would be. It's like, well, God, that's cheap. That's how you start to notice that your thermostat has changed. Because things that used to look expensive just don't anymore. And things that used to look like, oh my God, that's a huge amount of money. It just looks like an amount of money. Not huge, not tiny, just, it's money. So this is an exploration starter. So I hope you do the kind of thought experiments and start to play with it and start to notice how your own thermostat is set and start to notice how it can change. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk to you soon.